More names keep adding to the list of aspirants interested in running for the office of the President of Nigeria. Just yesterday, we witnessed 3 fresh declarations from the All Progressives Congress, APC. The governor of Ekiti State, Kayode Fayemi, Minister of Niger Delta Godswill Akpabio, and former governor of Edo State, Adams Oshiomole, all announcing their decisions to contest for the presidential ticket of the party. The race for the presidency as we head towards 2023 has never been this contested for, compared to previous elections, which sets up an interesting party primaries. Joining us on the show as we take a look at the latest trend of declarations within parties is Biodun Sowunmi, a Public Affairs Analyst. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning. I'm pleased to be here.
Well, good to see you. Thank you
nice
for joining us. Yeah, it's quite a while. Well, on the PDP side, we have 15 presidential aspirants. On the APC side, we have about 18, and we're told that there may even be more. All of a sudden, in the 2 major political parties, about 33 persons. From this, APC has made a kill, to use that phrase, of about 30 billion naira, we're told. Is this now a lottery? Is the presidency of Nigeria now such an easy thing that if care is not taken, by next week Wednesday, we may have close to 60 presidential aspirants across party lines? Why do you think this is the case?
Interestingly, nothing has changed in terms of the power arrogated to the office of the president, to attract, the interest of more people willing to contest for that very particular office. What has changed is the dynamics of geopolitics in Nigeria, in the sense that we should not lose sight of the fact that there were very few people being touted within both parties prior to the declaration of this governors, the 17 southern governors. Familiar names were being touted, about 2 or 3 within PDP, and then we had about 2 or 3 also within the APC. But suddenly, the moment the regional powers started digging in, you have the northern emir supported by the northern governors, you have the southern governors also, making a firm stand. We suddenly saw a deluge of interest in the presidency. Now, you also have a major problem. The presidency itself, what is not clear, from the president currently within the APC is virtually giving anybody that, voters to show an interest, they go ahead. You tend to have an impression that there is a deliberate plan to create a confusing situation with a view to force in a consensus candidate. That's within the APC, and that has always been the desire of the presidency. The president never hid that intention, and that is how they managed to do the chairman of the party. But when it comes to the presidential candidate, they've never been able to get all the candidates to agree on who should go. So because of that, the situation is now being made complex, so that if there is no one person that can win majority of the votes, 50% of the votes in each zones, don't forget they've divided APC into zones and then increased the number of delegates to 5 from 3. So if you can't win majority, 50%, then the issue is clear. They will now have to call for a negotiation, horse trading, the future of the country, your position on restructuring, and all these factors will come in with a view to produce a candidate acceptable, to Mr. President and the powers that be. And in this situation, people are already suspecting an agenda, to present a northern candidate. I don't think this is possible because the chairman of the party is from the north currently. It's unlike the PDP situation where Yosha Ayu agreed that if a northerner emerges, he would resign from that post. So we also face a similar situation where those who are advocating for power rotation to the south within the PDP are suddenly being, sidelined. So you saw, we've seen Tambuwal coming out, Atiku, the 2 major gladiators coming out, with Wike and some other people challenging them. Saraki is also in the race. So at the end of the day, we may also end up with a northern candidate in the PDP. So the suspicion is that APC feels that if the PDP produces a candidate from the north, then they are likely going to get shortchanged because democracy is a game of numbers. And given that situation, they are leaving open the possibilities through a form of an arrangement where they can get all the candidates, to negotiate and eventually, produce another candidate, probably from the north. So that is the suspicion going on currently. The issue is what then happens? What next? The situation of the country is such, we are such in a precarious situation that anything can give. The unity of the country is being threatened day in, day out. We have those who are agitating, in the southeast, even in the southwest, people are agitating. You cannot ignore the factor of Igboho and his own supporters. I mean, not necessarily agree with him as the right person to lead such a movement. But the fact of the matter is, there is a body, millions of people who actually share his vision. In the north, the whole of Northeast has been imperiled by the activities of Boko Haram. We've seen what they call banditry, criminality. It's not criminality, terrorism, in the Northwest. So where does that leave the country? This is the major problem. Once we create a situation where, the geopolitics in terms of the division will be along regions, south against the north, then the unity of the country will be threatened. So this is what many people are worried about, given the high rate of unemployment in the country currently running at 35%, given the fact that many voters are already disconnected, in West Africa, the maximum, I think we have the lowest, 35% of people participating in elections in West Africa. If you go by the last two elections that happened, then given the recent incident, I think in January in Burkina Faso, and the chief of army staff or chief of defense staff, Lucky Rabo, was forced to come out to deny that the military will interrupt or intervene in resolving the political crisis in the country. Many people are worried about the way the politicians are playing this game would imperil, the unity of the country, will create a further deepen the division in the country in a way that we may not be able to survive as a nation. That is the major worry, with the internal political games being played within the two political parties.
Wow. So all of this cloak and dagger, subterfuge, all of this, what we're even looking at as fast is actually extremely dangerous for our unity. My question for you was about to be the possible implosion of the political parties, APC and PDP, when people with their ambitions don't get their way and they might just decide to sabotage their party in various ways, remain in the party and conduct anti-party activities, or ditch the party and seek refuge elsewhere. But it just seems so trivial considering that now we're talking about the existence of our country.
Yeah, look, politicians would do what they have to do. They already, most of those political parties are sponsored by politicians in existing political parties. So it is easy to move their supporters from one party to another party, to challenge, their home party's decision if they disagree with it. That would happen. It's already happening. We have had people talking about SDP. We have had some people, moving into that political party. Those who are, in APC, some people have moved in some states. We've also had some movements within the PDP. Some people are talking about moving to ABGA and all that. So we are bound to have this going on. The major problem is, how do you manage this crisis in a situation where we are faced, people are faced with lower income, poverty is increasing, extreme poverty is increasing, almost doubling. And at the same time, we have rising cost of goods leading to lower living standards in the country. Costs of food is almost prohibitive for more than 50% of our population. You begin to ask yourself how people on 30,000 naira a month are surviving. And this cost will keep going up. We have a situation where government is thinking about, again, removing what they call subsidy. I've never agreed that there's subsidy on what you produce. And that would have its own multiplier effect. It will affect housing, affect virtually every sector, affect cost of moving goods to the market. And where would that leave Nigerians? Don't forget one thing. Those who are fomenting trouble today are recruiting from these, disempowered Nigerians who are not stakeholders within their own economy. So when you increase their population, then we are looking for trouble. And this is the final consequence of what the politicians are doing today. The Buhari administration largely has not helped the situation at all. We've never been so badly divided, so feel insecure. Kidnapping is on the increase. It's affecting neighboring countries. Go to the Boko Haram activities have spread to Niger, Chad, Cameroon. So also kidnapping in the southwest has moved, straight into Benin Republic. So we have almost whatever is happening in Nigeria is affecting the neighboring countries. So our politicians need to be more careful in the way they are carrying out, their game plans, within their political parties. Otherwise, the worry is that they would imperil, the unity and the security of this country. That is a major concern for many Nigerians.
Well, the sad reality is that politicians are never careful. I mean, if they were so careful, we will not have wet here, like what happened in the 60s in this country.
Absolutely. Go and look at what happened in Burkina Faso. The military came out and said, look, they had to do the coup simply because of the failure of the politicians to manage the killings going on in Burkina Faso at that time. Because also it suited the agenda of the politicians to divide voters and the people. So they allowed it to fester for some time. That was the excuse. Don't forget the issue of Mali. How come the last coup removed the president of Mali? It's simply because of the same situation. They gave the excuse of insecurity and all that. Nobody wants it. Military coup should be an aberration. Nobody wants it in our country. We want our people, we want our democracy to evolve and develop. Don't forget that by 2023, the first set of Nigerians that have never witnessed, military rule will now be voting. That is the stage where we are now. I don't think the military will be welcome in any form, no matter their mission. But the fact of the matter is politicians should not create, the basis for any form of intervention, through the game plan. There must be equity. We must ensure that all sections of the country feel, a sense of belonging. We all must be stakeholders in our economy.
But it looks like the Southeast is being left behind in all of this.
Unfortunately, the case of Southeast is quite amazing. You cannot say we don't want you to rule the country and yet we don't want you to go leave the country. Nigeria is a free union. No matter what anybody feels about it, the right to self-determination is guaranteed by the United Nations Charter. So therefore, people should have a right to exercise that right. But we would rather live peacefully together. There should be no reason why a section of the country, a region or a zone, cannot produce a presidential candidate. Why not? The gang up, the born-to-rule mentality of some leaders, political leaders in Nigeria from particular section of the country, stating clearly that no, we will not allow you to rule, is not helpful. That is not helping the debate at all.
2 minutes to go. Today, the Ohaneze Ndigbo is holding a meeting to see if the body can produce a consensus candidate on the platform of the APC and PDP out of the array of aspirants from the Southeast. Tomorrow, a meeting called by Chief Olusegun Oshoba and Chief Bisi Akande will be trying to do the same thing for aspirants from the Southwest on the platform of the APC. What do you think of these two meetings? You think they will be able to produce consensus candidates?
I don't think it's about consensus. It's to reduce the number of aspirants from those zones or geopolitical zones in the country. The game is very clear. Akeredolu came out clearly to warn the whole country that, look, any attempt to sabotage the rotation of power in the country will not augur well for the unity of the country. It's been condemned by some people from the suspected zone. But the fact of the matter is, more Nigerians are now being alerted that there's another game plan. So they're trying to manage the situation to reduce the number of aspirants, to ensure that there can be clear people with 50% of the votes from their zones, to be presented as presidential candidate. The current situation, what the game plan currently is to ensure that nobody is able to have more than 25, 30%. So therefore, there would have to be a kind of consensus arrangement, forced on them. And that is what they're trying to work against, in my view.
Okay, thank you very much, Biodun Sowunmi, for joining us on the morning show. And it's good to see you again.
Nice to see you again.